Hi, welcome to this week's episode. So we recently were talking to some people that were surrounded by like-minded people, but that were living much larger than them. So it made us think, why aren't they jumping out of their fishbowl? Let's dive in. Or maybe we should switch it to let's dive out.
Dive out. Yeah, let's jump out. Let's jump
out.
The Retirement Readiness Podcast with Tim Regan and Katie Umland. Presented by Prairie View Wealth and Tax Advisors. Live your 2-comma life.
And I think it's so crazy to think like how people just get these preconceived ideas or these natural thoughts around who they are, how they do things, all of those things. And I think about you and Alex sometimes, where I feel like you guys have done a really good job of saying, wait a minute, do we have to do things this way, or can we do them a different way? And what does that look like? Sometimes it might drive Alex crazy because you've had 13 homes in 4 years or something. But
I'm just changing my fishbowl a lot.
That's right. Yeah, well, you got to change water.
Buy and sell your fishbowl.
That's right. And so, but I think about like even with 4 young kids, it would be really easy for Alex to say, you know what, I've got a lawnmower and I know how to mow my grass, so I just mow my own lawn. But that would also take, how much time out of his week every week and how much mental capacity to think, oh crap, I got to go mow the grass, compared to, no, I spend a couple $100 a month and I pay somebody to mow my grass for me. But I think we have people that economically could be outside of their fishbowl, but don't always identify themselves as being able to do that.
I feel like it's so complicated, like identifying, okay, I'm in a fishbowl with this one item, like mowing my grass. I don't have to be stuck in there. But then also like, okay, is that what I want to teach my kids?
Yep.
Like, it's not just an easy, like, okay, we can pay to have this problem solved.
Well, it's so funny that you say that because, so Lily and Andrew, she's my oldest. She's married up in Milwaukee, teacher, all that stuff. So her and Andrew get married, buy a house. Neither one of them had ever mowed the grass before.
Yeah.
Ever. And so it was kind of cute. So they go out, they buy this lawnmower and they like put it together and then they close the garage door because they're like, we don't want to start it.
Yeah. We don't want people seeing us.
We cannot have neighbors know that we do not know what to do with a lawnmower. And so it's like, on one hand, to your point, I'm like, oh, well, it's kind of cool that they grew up always having that as their lifestyle, that they did, that just was, it's kind of cool. But on the flip side, I'm like, you kind of feel like you failed as a parent a little bit. Like, how did I not give them the life skill to know how to? But
then you're giving them different life skills and teaching them different priorities. So it's not one is bad, one is good. It's a mix of both.
It is.
And those are the toughest choices for me when it's like,
yeah, which way do I go with this?
You just have to decide. Like, you can't.
And I think part of it is like, we're all geared to be who we are naturally, right? And naturally at our house, I like to fix things. And so usually we don't call anybody. Like, it's something that if there's something broke, I figure out how to do it. But the other day I'm like, okay, I've got to get up on the roof. I'm like, that's dumb.
Yeah.
Okay. So what if my inexperienced self falls off the roof?
Yeah.
Like, how dumb is that? And so, but yet at the same time, I don't want to be the guy that can't get on his roof. You know what I mean? It's like, it's so all those things.
And if you stop being the guy that gets on his roof, you're going to stop being able to get on the roof.
Exactly. So, just go down this whole thing. But if we take that outside of that context and we start thinking about how many things in our lives are like a pain in the neck, they hold us back. We could be doing so many more things, but we force ourselves into this place. I one time heard a guy, I quote him frequently, Dan Sullivan, owner strategic coach. He one time said, if you have enough money, you don't have a problem. And like his whole point is, if you have enough money to pay to solve for that, then you don't have a problem. You just write the check and you solve for that. And so many times we see people that started out, maybe they didn't have a lot of money when they grew up. Maybe they didn't have a lot of money when they were first married, but now they're in a completely different economic place, but they still don't identify with the idea that I don't need that to be a pain in my life. I can just write a check and solve that problem.
Well, and like, there's something about it. Like, I don't know if it's ego or what it is exactly, but there's something that feels like I should have pain points.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, life should be hard.
Life should be hard. Or like, it almost feels like you're not doing it right. Or like, maybe there's like a sliver of like, am I deserving of this?
Sure.
But also just I feel like that's kind of a complicated feeling also.
Super complicated. Well, and I think that part of it is that as I go through and think about the way that I want my life to live, so many times I don't stop to say, what is the way I want my life to live? Right? Like we don't stop ourselves to say, is this really getting me where I want to go? Instead, we just kind of go through life and have the work of it. And I'll give you an example. So I think we talked about it right before we started. Sarah and I have friends of ours that recently bought a second home down in Arizona. And we're down visiting them. And in this community, they have people that are driving their classic cars to lunch and that kind of stuff. And there's quite a bit of money there. And you said, that doesn't sound like that couple because you know them as well. And like, that's not, they're like that. They would have to get out of their fishbowl. They could be that couple, but they'd have to get out of their fishbowl. Well, they recently have their home here in Illinois had some water that got in the basement. And what ended up happening was he flew back and then took a week cleaning out the basement, getting it all squared away. They could have very easily called Stanley Steam or whatever, like whoever the Servpro, whatever the company is, and said, hey, maybe he still flies back, but he's not the one with the shop vac down there, vacuuming up the basement and stuff. But they wouldn't think about that because that's not how they identify as being the people that do that. But there are some people that would have never thought about
doing themselves.
That, right?
Yeah.
And it would have been, and so.
Well, it's all like balancing like where you spend your money, time, and like what the trade-off is and what you're willing to spend. Like I was going to like hire a house cleaner.
Yeah.
Well, I like cleaning the house. I just don't want to do it when the kids are around. So do I want to spend the money for a house cleaner or do I want to spend that same money for a babysitter? Yeah. And I'll clean the house myself. Where do I
get the value? Because like, I mean, you've met my wife, right? So for Sarah, it's therapeutic to go through all that stuff. Like it's just a very calming.
But like your first thought is like, oh, I need the house cleaned. Let me pay somebody to clean the house.
Yeah.
And when I dig down into it, like, no, I get value from that. I get some self-esteem from cleaning the house.
I get to look and say, look what I did.
And it feels good. It just is a different feeling.
Yeah.
But I didn't think about like, oh, well, what I'm actually just want those dang kids to get out.
How about it? Yeah. It's so funny how that is, when in business, a lot of times what we'll do is we'll find an issue. And the first step is you have to identify the issue. And 90+% of the time, it ain't what you think it is, right? And so that's why you have to identify it first. Because if you don't identify it, you're going to be trying to solve it.
Years down the road.
You're like, that ain't what we...
Yeah, we still have this issue that we thought we solved.
It's still underlying.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I don't know how it is people can identify that, but there's a couple of, exercises, if you will, that I try to go through. So one of them is to sit down with a blank sheet of paper and just think, what are all of the things in my life that I dislike doing? And as you make that list, start thinking then, how could I keep myself from having to do them, right? What could I do to not have to do that? And it's funny, I've thought for a long time and I've never executed on it. I think I could. But I think that it would make sense for me to go to the neighbors in my neighborhood and say, what if we, 5 of us, got together and hired a maintenance man? And I call it man, whatever, but somebody who's going to weed our flower beds, going to mow our grass, going to do all the yard work, but then he'll hand wash the cars once a week. They'll
make your own HOA rules.
Yeah,
exactly. I don't want somebody to do classic HOA things. I have this other...
all this stuff that I'd like to have done. And so... And like, I think if you did it right, you could probably do that. And if we added up all the money all of us are spending in landscapers and all the money we're spending in snow removal, and all the money, like you go down that list, we could probably do it. And it's not going to be drastically different. But now we have all these other things that are being done at the same time. Like go around the house and every 6 months, just change the light bulbs. Right. Make sure that I don't want to come home and see a light bulb that's out that I have to now get the ladder out and climb up or whatever. It's those types of things that you could, but I don't identify as the person that would have somebody that could do those things. And so what happens? Every 6 months, I'm getting out the ladder in an inopportune time because the light in the chandelier went out and I've got to.
This is kind of ties into one of our previous episodes when we were talking about kind of the tension of like, where do you spend your money, or like, and I feel like this kind of goes along with that. Like, there's almost something like shameful about having somebody do those types of things for you when you're able to, you're physically able to, like, but then like, it's almost like you don't want to tell your friends that you pay somebody to change your light bulbs.
Yeah.
Even though like your friends are probably thinking like, dang, I wish I had somebody to do that. But like, they're also secretly saying like, why does he pay somebody to change his light bulbs? Yeah. Even though they want that done too.
Yeah.
And why, do you know, it just has this like,
but I think it's all
wrapped up together.
It is. And I think it's all because that's part of what causes that fishbowl, right? That those are all the things.
Like you're worried about what your friends are going to say. So it's easier to say in the fishbowl.
Well, and you're also thinking about like, you don't identify as that person, right? Like so there's a quote that I've seen that if you, I'll get it wrong, but I'll give you the gist of it. It says like, if you want to effectuate change, join a group of people where that is the norm, where that behavior is the norm.
Yeah.
So if you want to become, more fit and eat healthier, join a group of people that you hang out with that is watching what they eat and is working out all the time. Don't join the group that sits at the bakery and doesn't care if they work out or not. And so the same thing can kind of be true here. If all of your other friends had something that changed their light bulbs, wouldn't think twice about it. That's just what we do. That's that's not the fishbowl that I live in. And so it's like all of those things create that fishbowl. That's all part of, because that's part of your origin story. Where did you grow up? What were you accustomed to? I think about the same thing. My brother-in-law has always lived on a lake. Their family now lives on a beautiful lake out in North Carolina. For them, that's their reality. We have boats, we go skiing, we go fishing. Like that is just how we live. For me, if I was going to think about having a boat,
it's like so much work. And how do you even do that?
And that's not part of that keeps me in my fishbowl. Like I can't picture me being Tim, the boat owner. And so it keeps me in my fishbowl because that's not been what I'm accustomed to. And so it's like thinking through that and saying, okay, well, wait a minute. If that's what I want, then why am I allowing myself to stay here? I should find a way to jump out of that fishbowl, but it takes being intentional. And that's why I like to say, sit down, write down all of the things that you don't like to do and start with that list. Then write down all of the things you wish you could do and write down that list. An example for all the things I wish we could do. So Sarah and I were just in Arizona over the weekend, and that's a 4-hour flight. And I sat in the middle seat there and back for 4 hours. I did so thankfully because Sarah doesn't do well on planes. She doesn't want the middle seat. And so what always happens, so just a little, I don't know, probably everybody does it, but if they don't, just a little hack. So whenever we fly, I always book the window and the aisle and leave the middle open, because usually if it's not a full plane, people are not choosing the middle, right? And so usually we end up, not usually, probably 50% of the time, you end up with a whole row to yourself, where many times people just think, oh, I'll just do the two next to each other. But there's never been a time when the person in the middle didn't say, yeah, I prefer the aisle or the window. I'll let you have the middle type thing, right? And so then we just switch. We still sit next to each other. So anyway, so I give Sarah the aisle. I'm sitting in the middle. And I'm like, why? And so one of the things, I don't know if I'll actually execute on, but one of the things is I now want to identify with as the guy who anytime the flight is over 2 hours, I'm going first class.
Yeah.
This is a wide frame body. It don't do well in the narrow frame seats. Like, why would I not do that? Now, that may mean I have to make other adjustments. Okay, so maybe Sarah and I go out to eat 4 times a week instead of 5. Or maybe we don't go to, whatever and save some of that. But rather than me identifying as a person that always sits in economy, what if it looked like I identified as the guy who always sits in first class? But every time it goes to click by, I'm like, I'm a cheapskate.
This is why.
Yeah. But part of it is me getting out of my fishbowl. I don't identify as the person that is always sitting first class. I identify as a person that always sits in economy. And to your point, it's kind of like there's some pride there. Like, could I afford to go to fly first class? Yes, I could. But it's kind of like, it's 4 hours. Get over
Just
yourself.
get over it.
Save your money.
Yeah.
But if that's a significant pain point,
Yeah.
why?
Why?
Why would I do that?
And like we were talking earlier too about like your inherited trauma, you inherit your fishbowl from
Yes.
how you were raised. And Alex and I are starting to, like, Dylan's 4, he's far getting closer to like having some independence
Sure.
outside. So we were like just chatting, like Alex grew up, he could ride his bike 2 doors down, both directions.
Yep. That's it.
And so just saying like, well, what are we gonna do with Dill? Like how much freedom can he
where's
have?
the leash?
Like,
Yeah.
And because we want him to have the confidence to know, I know how to ride my bike around the whole cul-de-sac.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, and he's riding that bike like a champ.
He can ride, like,
yeah.
and like just give him the tools of like, okay, if you encounter a dog, what should you do? If like just giving him the tools to give himself the confidence. But it's just now we're also thinking about not just our fishbowl, but like what fishbowl are we giving our children and what do we want them to have? And I feel like that's almost a bigger driver. Like if you needed a push to shatter your own fishbowl, like having somebody else relying on you to do that kind of makes it easier in some ways.
For sure. Well, and to your point with that, I don't know if I would have necessarily made the connection to it. So Tim, my son, like he's somebody that is constantly thinking about how can he grow, where can he do, like push himself, that kind of stuff. But his natural tendency is he likes to be tethered to something. He likes to know that I've got a backstop, like playing baseball. He was a guy that never let off a whole lot because he didn't want to take that risk, wanted to be tethered to the base. Always caught. Like if he was going to be in the outfield floating with nothing confining him, like that would have been not a great place for him. So he's got that naturally. The way he grew up was we kind of had rules in our house, and so it probably played into that a little bit. Now, fortunately, I think he and I have done enough talk that I don't think he's willing to shatter some fish bowls, but versus the way I grew up, I had like free reign, like the world. We grew up in the country, hop on your dirt bike and go riding for wherever you want to go. I think that shaped my life, and so to your point, you've got to kind of keep that in mind and think about, okay, what caused my fishbowl? How can I adjust it? But then also what fishbowls am I causing my children, my grandchildren, and how we decide to.
And do we just intentionally like, is this the fishbowl you want for them?
Yeah.
And just letting them see you shatter fishbowls helps them to shatter their own, or think that that's normal to have those conversations of like, what are we doing here?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think that happens a lot. So when we talked at the outset, it was kind of like, okay, what keeps you in your fishbowl and how do you get out of your fishbowl? And what I think it is people don't realize that they identify one way. They think that is what life should look like. And they don't even realize that, wait a minute, I could be this other person. I could identify as a different person. And I think about it right now. We're in the middle of it. Sarah and I are. So I've been working on this whole pilot license thing, right? And we're getting to the end of it. We're now starting to think about, should we buy a plane? What does that look like? And as I'm looking at different options and different models and why would we do it? At first, when I got into flying, I didn't think I'd buy a plane. I thought, we'll rent, we'll become part of a club somewhere, like something, but we wouldn't buy a plane. Now, when I think about it, like literally, for us to go to Cincinnati would be about a little over an hour flight. It's 4 hours and 15 minutes for us to drive there.
Yeah.
So every time we go, it's overnight. It's a couple of, now we could fly down and have dinner with Tim if we wanted to. Same thing, Kelly, our sister. For those who, I know it's our sister.
Yeah.
For those who are listening who might not know it's our sister, lives in South Carolina. For her, that's a 2.5 hour flight. I haven't seen her. I haven't been out to her place. Like now I could say, hey mom, you want to go see Kelly?
Yeah.
We'll have lunch, hang out for a couple hours and we'll come home.
Yeah. That would be so fun.
But that changes the paradigm completely around who do I identify as, what is my lifestyle? It now becomes feasible for Sarah and I to spend a weekend with Madeline in New Orleans compared to not, right?
Yeah.
And so all those things, it just changes the paradigm of who you identify to be.
I think it's so hard. I think for me personally, I guess it's identifying what your fishbowl is. That's harder than maybe even shattering it.
Sure. Yeah. Well, and that's why it has to be like I sit down and I think about what are all of the pain points in my life. And then why do I allow that to be a pain point?
Mm-hmm.
You know, for some people, like for me, I'm a pretty aspirational kind of a person. Like I think about something I want and then I go after it. For other people, they're like, I don't even know. That's not how my brain works. I can't even think about what I want. But if I asked you what drives you crazy every day,
It's on the tip of your tongue.
yeah, like, it doesn't take long until you start getting into it, right? And so even things like I'll pick another silly one. When Sarah and I were in our first home, we had a detached garage, and every time you came home in the rain and ran to the back door with groceries in hand,
yeah,
with a key to try unlock the back door to get in, and then you're getting all of that mess inside of your house and all that kind of stuff. That would have been a big pain point. There's no way I'm going to attach my garage to that house, right? But I could say, well, wait a minute. Why are we choosing to stay in a home that doesn't have an attached garage? Or maybe I can't attach the garage, but I could maybe put up like a nice looking pergola with a roof that kind of would allow me to walk not in the rain. Or like just this whole list of things. Like if I start thinking it through, I could say that's a huge pain point. How do I now go about modifying it?
And like to your point of like make a list of what's bothering you. You also make a list of like, just like you said, okay, I could make a pergola. I could, just kind of go down this list of like what could be the solutions, because when you get through that list of solutions, it might not even be what you
ever even
thought. And then you might even come to the solution that the detached garage isn't the problem.
Yeah. It's this other thing that is
actually.
Well, and so like to put that into perspective, like, so Sarah and I have never once had our groceries delivered. Never once. I don't know if I ever could bring myself to have my groceries delivered.
I could never bring myself to go back to the grocery store.
Yes.
So we have two different viewpoints.
Yeah. And the reason we don't is because Sarah's pretty particular in, especially like the produce.
Yeah.
She knows what she wants to pick in produce. And like, she's pretty particular in making sure that she gets the best deal. I mean, she likes to do it, and she does a great job with it. But thinking through that exact example, if I still had a detached garage and I still had young children and I still, all of a sudden, one of the solutions is bring them a grocery.
Get those groceries delivered.
But it had to start with the pain point of the detached garage going in through the rain. I would have never identified as a person that would actually have somebody deliver my groceries. But now maybe I do because of that. Or same thing, like I hate living in the Midwest in the wintertime because I hate shoveling my driveway. 1-800-SNOWPLOW guy. Like there are ways to start thinking about things. We have to identify it first and then work through like what keeps me stuck here. Similarly, there might be things that you've never thought of, and it's not a pain point. For example, maybe you really like to golf, but when you grew up, you never went to the country club. You never even think about joining the club. Even though if you join the club, it would be a social outlet. It would let you golf when you wanted to. You could have it's different when you say to somebody, you want to go find a place to golf versus do you want to come to the club and golf? Like just a whole different world. But if you never identified yourself as that, you wouldn't go down that path. And so it's giving yourself permission to think outside of what I normally would do or normally would think I would. Because most of the time, when you start down that path, you find it's not the money that keeps you from doing it. It's the fact that you didn't identify yourself as that person, because you can usually find ways to find the money to do it.
It's scary. It's scary to like question your identity.
Mm-hmm. It
feels like, oh, let's back off that. Yeah. Let's not open that door.
Yeah. Well, and I thought about that too. So I'm not a golfer. There was a time when I wanted to be a golfer, thought I could be a golfer. And so I thought about joining the country club. And then I started thinking about it, and I'm like, you know what? I don't know, like, what do I do when I get there?
Yeah.
And what happens in the locker room? And do I shower? Do people not shower? Do I, like, this whole list of things? And like, even things like, do I tip the caddy, or does the caddy get a tip at the end of the year from everybody? And like, it's these things that I haven't grown up in that world. And so it could be very nerve wracking to think, I want to do this, but I have to get out of that fishbowl, have to shatter it. And I don't know how to do that. And so again, it kind of goes back to, all right, well then how do I solve that problem? What would be, they have a director of membership at the club.
Right.
And you're like, listen, my first time doing this, walk me through it, like, and ask all those questions. I don't want to look like an idiot. Nobody wants to look like an idiot. And so they'll understand that and they'll help you through that. And so it's like you said, it's identified, but then it's also, how do I get the courage to try to get out of it?
I thought I should make a social media platform that was all about doing things for the first time and documenting it.
Oh, that's cool.
Like, not for myself, but for others. Like, there are so many people that are plagued with anxiety of, I don't know where to park, so I'm not going to go there. When I call to order a cake, what are they going to ask me? I don't know what they're going to ask me, so I'm not going to call.
Yep.
And I'm just going to document myself like, okay, I called. This is the number I called, and this is
how it works.
These are the questions that they asked. And then I hung up, and then I went to go get the kit. Like, just walk through local places that are like,
trying to lower the nervous factor.
Yeah. Because I feel like that's a lot of, and it's the same thing with, I've never been to a country club.
Yep.
How does that work?
Yeah. Well, and I think it's so, I've never thought about it this way before until we just mentioned it, which I think is a current fishbowl that people live within. I think currently it's way easier for me to try to do something online or to text or because that's a controlled environment.
Yeah.
If I pick up the phone, now it's uncontrolled.
Yeah.
What are they going to say to me? What am I going to say to them? What if they ask me something I don't know? What if we're doing that via some electronic media, then I don't have to have the answer immediately. I can go find it. I can, which I think probably goes towards why are people more nervous about picking up the phone?
Anything, everything.
Yeah. So I don't know if we try to land the plane. I think that the biggest thing that people find when they look to shatter a fishbowl is they just don't identify as being the person that does the thing, whatever the thing is. They don't identify, or they identify as the person that always mows their own grass or always paints their own house or, those things, which, by the way, I've never done. So if somebody if you ever wanted somebody to help you paint your house, don't look at this guy. We're fortunate that we got married to an uncle who was a painter, and we have never had to paint a thing. And so, but I think people get caught up in those things and they don't take the time to stop and think, wait, why? Why is that what I'm identifying as?
Okay. I'll do it.
And so we know it's not stop cleaning the house.
It's not. No.
But
sometimes
it might be,
maybe.
Yes. And so what Sarah has done, just as an aside to that, because she likes cleaning the house, like it's therapeutic almost for her. But she doesn't like doing the deep clean.
Yeah.
Like she keeps our house perfect. Like anybody can stop at our house anytime. It's immaculate.
Yeah.
But the idea of wiping up all of the hardwood floors and all of the bathroom floors, like that's just a pain in the neck stuff, And so then what we decided was she can still scratch her itch and keep the house the way she keeps the house.
Yeah, daily cleaning.
But then every couple of weeks, we have somebody that comes and wipes up the floors and does the stuff that she doesn't like to do, that doesn't give her pleasure, because why not?
Yeah.
Why not? All right. So share your fishbowl, live your 2-comma life. Where can people go to get more resources?
Okay. I think you still go to pv-wp.com for more resources.
All right.
The Retirement Readiness Podcast with Tim Regan and Katie Umland. Presented by Prairie View Wealth and Tax Advisors. Live your 2-comma life. Learn more at pv-wp.com. And while you're at it, don't forget to subscribe to the Retirement Readiness Podcast on your preferred podcast platform.